Welcome in, Iowa Hawkeye fans, to another edition of the Hawkeye Tailgate Report. I am Luke Myers, and football season's over, but I mentioned it last week. We're going to keep going here with both basketball teams and the wrestling teams. So we'll review each team's performances from the last week and then get to our second half of the interview with Brandon Morris. He used to be an Iowa Hawkeye basketball manager, along with being the CEO of Student Union Sports, a startup website, a few years old now. But we'll start with Iowa men's basketball from the last week. They took on Virginia Tech in the middle of last week, and they didn't look great. 79-55 was the final score. It was tied at half, but after that point, got basically embarrassed in the second half. They couldn't get a stop. They couldn't score a bucket. It was just really tough to watch. It reminded me of the UNI game versus Iowa. I think it was 3 or 4 years ago now. They only scored 17 points in the second half. And Luka Garza, I proclaimed him Big Ten Freshman of the Year about a month before the season started, and he has looked all but that so far. I'm not saying he can't turn it around. He just hasn't looked great thus far into the season. And then on Saturday, they dropped a heartbreaker to Penn State, 77-73. They looked a lot better in this game, but couldn't come back. They couldn't get a key stop. They would hit a nice little run, get 4 points in a row, trim into the lead a little bit that Penn State had, but just couldn't prevent Penn State from getting to the bucket at will, and they were knocking down some deep threes when they needed as well. Give it to the Nittany Lions. They were executing well. You could tell Bear has been there in the last week. The defense has looked a little better, but they're going to need somebody else to step up defensively as well, and the rim feels like it hasn't been our friend at all this season, so maybe the Hawkeyes can turn that around. They fall to 4-4 on the season. We'll move to women's basketball now. They played in the Big Ten ACC Challenge against number 13 Florida State last week and almost pulled off a pretty good win there. 94-93 they lost. They blew a fourth quarter lead, but it's good to see them sticking in a game with a top-ranked opponent. It was their first loss of the season for Iowa. They shot better from the field and three, but 21 turnovers killed them. That was about, I believe, 8 or 9 more than what Florida State had. You give any team that many more opportunities, the game's probably not going to go in your favor. Hawkeyes were almost able to sneak it out, but they couldn't hold on to that. And then over the weekend, they beat Samford 80-59 in Carver. It was domination over an inferior opponent. Iowa never trailed in the game, and they had 3 players scoring double figures, scoring pretty well distributed all the way throughout. Iowa had more turnovers again, but their scoring numbers were too good to overcome, and the Hawkeyes just looked great in this game. They improved to 8-1 on the season. And now we'll move to wrestling, who got a very thrilling win over the weekend. They improved to 5-0 after defeating number 15 Illinois. Iowa was ranked 7th. They defeated them 18-17. Iowa was trailing when Sam Stoll got the pin in the first period of the final match on the day, and Iowa would rally to win. It was awesome to see some of the highlights. Brands and Carver erupted when Stoll took down his man to the mat, and at that point, everybody rose to their feet, and we're just getting all into it. Hawkeyes sneak out a win there, win it 18-17. We got a couple ads from our sponsors coming up here, so stay tuned. We'll get right to the interview after that. You're listening to the Hawkeye Tailgate Report. As a small business owner, you know tax season is not nearly as exciting as Iowa game day. With Peak Ridge Partners, you won't have to worry about the stress of tax season. Peak Ridge Partners takes the stress of tax and accounting off of your shoulders, allowing you to focus your time on maximizing your business's potential. Our cloud-based bookkeeping system will allow you to stay on top of your tax and accounting needs. When you choose Peak Ridge Partners, you have the ability to access all your bookkeeping information at any time, on any mobile device, allowing you to communicate with us 24/7. Choose Peak Ridge Partners. We save small businesses time and money. Go Hawks! Cobra Lanes in Farley, Iowa is now open for the year. Come out and bowl at the 8-Lane Family Fun Center. Want a new bowling ball? Visit the pro shop and have it drilled by owner Al Heiberger. Want some dinner? Order some food from the kitchen and eat it in their dining area. Want to have a good time? Visit their bar for happy hour from 4 to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday. Roll on down to Cobra Lanes in Farley for a great time. All right, I got 2 more Hawkeye questions here for you, and then we'll talk about Student Union. I want to talk about Carver. Do you believe that Carver has a home court advantage?
I believe the home court advantage is very real, despite many of our conversations offline on this. I do, and Carver's a pretty special. I have my own frustrations with Carver and some of the game day atmosphere things. The fact that they still play Mambo number 5 is just baffling to me. But I think it's the way the stadium's set up. It's a little bit bigger. I wish it was about 500 or 1,000 people smaller, because I think that the small atmospheres can really, I mean, you look at Duke. Duke's a very small gym. But I think the way the stadium is set up with being underground, I think it can get real loud in there real quick. I think especially with the way Fran and Coach McCaffrey likes to play, once they get rolling, they get the press going, get a few turnovers. J-Bo hits a few threes. It gets cooking in there. So I definitely think it can be one of the more intimidating places in the Big Ten when a big team comes to town. Just makes a little bit more consistency from the fans. Get more students there on a more consistent basis, and play a little bit better music, I would say. But I'm a big proponent of home court advantage. I think 18 to 22-year-olds thrive off of it, and I think referees absolutely make bad calls because of it.
It probably wouldn't hurt if Carver kind of moved their student section around a little bit to the sideline instead of being right behind the hoop. But what's your prediction for the Hawks this year?
It's a weird Big Ten to me. Outside of Michigan State, there isn't a lot of elite teams. Buzzword elite, but I think there is a lot of solid teams. I think we can be very, very good, but we have certain areas where there's almost no room for error. We can't have Moss or Bohannon go down. We've talked about this ad nauseum. I'm very concerned about the guard depth right now, but we have a lot of big depth, and that's always good. You need that in the Big Ten, and we got a lot of bigs that can do different things. We got some guys that are a little bit more athletic and can rebound and play defense. We got guys that like Ryan Kreiner or even Garza or Nunji that can do a little bit more shooting, a little bit more offensive, have a little bit better offensive game. So I think there's a lot of different looks we can use. The other concern is that our non-conference is real bad, real bad. So if it comes down to an RPI argument, that's not going to be good. So we got to take advantage of the big games that we do have. Hopefully getting to play which appears to be a good Cincinnati team. Playing a good Cincinnati team is it Cancun?
Cayman Islands.
Cayman. If we need to get to them, and B, if we play them, beat them. And then obviously the rest of the non-con pretty much have to go undefeated. You hope we can get the Cyclones again this year. And then any opportunities, specifically any home games against whoever's top ranked in the Big Ten at that point, we've got to get those wins. We can't leave it. If we leave it up, if we end up on the bubble, we're going to have a hard time getting in, because that non-con is, it's bad. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot to like. I think there's, Fran's already talking about wanting to go like 11 to 12 deep. I think we have a lot of good young players too that should be exciting for the future. I'm interested to see how Connor does his first year. I think he's coach's son. I think he's a good shooter. He's got a lot of stuff that you like. Curious how his game translates over to the Big Ten level. And I think it's going to be important because if Bohannon gets in foul trouble or, gets hurt at all, that he's going to have to step up and play big minutes. So I'm cautiously optimistic, I'll say. I think there's a great chance. I think we should, I'll say we should make the tournament this year. I would be surprised anywhere between like a 4th and 7th finish in the Big Ten, so I'll split the difference and go with like a 5th. I think that probably lands us a 7th seed in the tournament somewhere, 6th, 7th seed.
Pretty much like Iowa in recent years. We'll move on to this. You can talk about the student union sports here a little bit. It's a website, great website, student authors and college only. Can you tell us about it?
Yeah, so student union started about 3 years ago, talking with a couple of my other buddies that were managers at the University of Iowa. And one of them, a guy named Todd Bruns, was a basketball manager, but he's also a communications major. And he was kind of frustrated with what his options were to write about sports. He couldn't write for the Daily Iowan because of his schedule and everything like that. And so, your only other option is basically to start your own website, which 95% of them go defunct after 2 weeks. And when they realize how difficult it is to write for a website, only for your website and, all the different stuff that comes with it. So that was kind of where the idea of Student Union was born, where let's get a site where only current college students can contribute, and we'll get them out to a national audience. We'll get them a nice, clean-looking portfolio that they can show any potential job, when they're recruiters or anything like that, when they're looking for a job after college, and then, help them build their brand name and build their brand and help them kind of find their writing voice. So we basically take on any college student who's interested in it. We help work with them either with article ideas or just, helping them kind of grow their voice and figure out what they are, give them ideas how to get, a bigger social media following, and, give them the tools to really help grow their skills, whether it's through writing, podcasting, or video. Even we've done some video work in the past. So it's been a really fun 3 years. We're certainly in a bit of a growth boom right now. The last month and a half has been crazy. We've brought on like 15 or 20 new contributors. So it's been very exciting. We've oftentimes compared ourselves to like a fraternity or sorority from a standpoint of we're a very tight-knit community. And, I think over the last couple of weeks and even today, we've really seen that kind of come together. And, I think you can attest, even though we don't meet each other in real life because we have writers all over the country, you get great connections, you get friends from it all, and you get the opportunity to kind of hang out, quote unquote, and meet and talk with like-minded people, have fun arguments and debates of whether or not Hoosiers is a good basketball movie, which it 1,000% is, and really just have some fun while you're also trying to build a portfolio and get your name out there.
And I think it's worth noting that if you're interested in writing for the site, it's just strictly not business. We have a lot of fun with what we do.
Absolutely. It's there's a lot of different writers in the world and different ways you can get into sports media. I talk about it a lot when I bring on new guys. Is this idea of kind of 5 buckets, where it's anywhere from being Johnny beat writer or Iowa fans, like a Mark Morehouse type writer, to going ESPN where you're looking more at national views, to Bill Simmons at The Ringer where you're taking sports and pop culture and kind of interweaving them, all the way over to Barstool, which is sometimes as much about Barstools as it is about sports, much more of a comedy site. We take on all different kinds of people. We want to help you, whatever, kind of venture or bucket you envision yourself writing in. We want to help give you that platform to try to get that eventual job someday. So that's what we kind of pride ourselves on. It's a lot of fun, but, if you want to create, like Cody Goggin did, one of our writers, and create a prediction model based on statistics that you do in your free time, we have a platform for that as well. Or if you want to write about the 10 biggest douchebags in college football over the last 10 years, like Johnny Rambos did, we're the guys for you. So, that's kind of the cool thing where we've grown, where however you want to shape your career, you can do it. As opposed to if you're writing the Daily Iowan or any student-run newspaper, you're kind of stuck in one bucket, and you can't really go out of that bucket or that sandbox, whatever you want to call it, where this allows you to expand upon what you can do.
Yeah, the U offers you to be a part of something special, but like you mentioned, it shapes yourself. I mean, I got handed the nickname Big Takes in the group chat, and now it's my Twitter handle, and now a few people call me that, so I'll roll with that. I absolutely love it. But Brandon, thanks for your time today. Go Hawks.
Go Hawks, buddy.
Now we look ahead to some of the games coming up for Hawkeye Athletics this week for the basketball teams and the wrestling team. We got a couple of Cy-Hawk games going on this week on the basketball court. For the men, they are at Iowa State on Thursday at 7 p.m., and they will follow that up with a weekend performance on Sunday at home at Carver versus Southern University. That is Sunday at 4 p.m. For the women's basketball team, they're at Iowa State Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. Should be a good game. They're 8-1. Hawkeyes looking to keep that momentum going while the men's team looks to turn it around. And for the women's team, their game next weekend is at home against Arkansas Pine Bluff, and that is at Saturday at 2 p.m. And then for the wrestling team, they have an East Coast trip coming up this weekend, as their next match is Friday at 7 p.m. That's at Rutgers in East Rutherford, New Jersey. And then Maryland on Sunday. That's at Maryland out on the East Coast, 12 p.m. So the Hawkeyes each have a couple of performances coming up this weekend. Let's see if the men's basketball team can turn it around, while the women's basketball team and wrestling teams look to keep their momentum going and building as they get closer to the Big Ten seasons coming up here for their teams. That wraps up this edition of the Hawkeye Tailgate Report. Thanks for listening. Make sure to follow us on Twitter, Facebook, subscribe to us on iTunes. We're now on iTunes, so make sure you go check that out. If you like the video version, we'll still be putting that up also on YouTube weekly. The show gets released on Wednesdays, so make sure you look for it then. Thanks for listening, guys. Go Hawks.